Welcome back. So tonight we're starting off with Reverend Edmund Yirenkyi Fianko, who's the Director General of the National Communication Authority. They are 30 years old, lots of issues within telcos, the media itself, digital platforms and the rest of it. Reverend, thanks for joining the program. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Congratulations on your appointment. I think that was 14 months ago.
Yeah, roughly.
January 2025.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people say it came to them as a surprise. Were you surprised by your appointment?
I was surprised by the call.
But how long had you worked in the NCA before this position?
About 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
So what was your position before this?
I was a director for engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you have been director for how long?
I had been since 2021.
Which means you entered after school.
Yeah.
You did telecom.
I did national service at NCA and then.
Oh, so it's like me. Did national service at CTFM. So you've been at NCA your whole life.
My whole life. Every other thing I've done, I've still been pivoting.
So director for engineering.
Yeah.
So this is more like a logical next step in a way.
Well, there's a deputy director general and then the director general.
Yeah. I see. So when the call came, what did they say?
Well, the call came and that I was being considered for the position. I said, well, and yeah, a few other discussions around it because it was initially a surprise. But the picture of, the challenges that the sector was facing and the need for a very experienced hand. So, yeah, and I said I was willing to serve anywhere His Excellency the President would require me to serve.
So I'm sure institutional memory was a key issue, having been there for 20-something years.
I believe so. Early stage of my career, I was recording for the board operations subcommittee.
Wow.
So I've been in the room when a lot of very important decisions have been made for the sector. So I've served under various board chairs, working closely with them directly.
So how many ministers of communication have you worked under?
When I joined, it was Felix. No, it was Kandapa.
Albert Kandapa.
Yeah, it was Kandapa. And then after Kandapa was...
Felix also Japan?
No, Felix was before Kandapa.
So Kandapa?
Kandapa, after him was former Speaker Michael Quay.
Okay.
And then Benjamin Aggreen Tim.
Yeah.
And then Haruna.
Okay.
Omani Buama, Esla. And then now some honorable. So
about 6 or 7 minutes. How critical is NCA in the ministry? I ask this because I know some ministries have many agencies. So the Ministry of Communication, is that the name?
Today it is Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. But generically it's been Ministry of Communications.
How many agencies are there and how important is NCA within that?
I think we may be counting up to 9 agencies, quite a lot. Yeah.
But you are the main agency.
We are the main. We are the main. Maybe except for Ghana Post and GMET, the NCA will be the oldest.
And you are probably the biggest too.
It depends on how you want to measure it.
Staffing and spread across the nation.
I don't know about GMET because, I don't know about Ghana Post because the post offices are.
No, but you are okay. I use agency. You are a regulator in a sense.
As far as the regulators are concerned, we are the biggest.
You are the biggest.
Yeah.
And what do you regulate?
So electronic communications widely. We are also the spectrum manager for Ghana. So the use of spectrum for aeronautical radio communications, maritime, two-way radio, broadcasting, telecom, internet, telephony, all of that is part of what we do.
Oh, so you regulate the internet?
Yes, please.
So if there was a discussion around social media, or because the content is not...
So, yeah, you know very well that we are not allowed to regulate the content because of this constitutional provisions.
Okay. So that's NMC.
NMC. Well, so they are a constitutional body to ensure freedoms and also to maintain standards. Yeah.
But if there was a discussion in Parliament around, say, the cost of internet,
that would be us.
That would be you.
Because
so you could be invited
Yes.
to testify. So I'm saying this because when I watch TV, I see European Parliament invite some of the big companies like Google and co, they discuss content a lot, but if they were to discuss technical issues around access and security, you would be the agency.
Yeah, the comms regulator.
I see. But in terms of what Ghanaians focus on, I think the media, television, radio, and mobile telephony would be the biggest, correct?
Yeah, that takes the bulk of our time. But even though there are other services that we...
So let's take one by one. So in regulating, say, the telco sector, what are the key areas of regulation?
Okay, so number one is spectrum.
Okay.
Because we are mainly a mobile country, very little fixed networks, but so the spectrum is key. Numbering resources, these are two key resources that we regulate. So the numbers that you have are assigned, to the MNOs by the NCA, and then they now issue them to the individuals. We also regulate competition within the space. We also have a mandate to protect consumers, ensure that the interest of consumers. So when it comes to consumer protection, that's why we measure quality of service. That's why we do tariff verification. So we have systems for checking billing accuracy. Yeah, so all those are consumer protection functions. We also carry out education of consumers. So all these T and C's that nobody reads, we read them and make sure that they are fair, and that they've been properly communicated, etc. So
spectrum, numbering. So when a company was declared SMP, that was you.
Yeah, that's our work. Yeah.
But you implement a policy of the government.
Yes,
or SMP, how does that work?
Okay, so the law already gives us the mandate to make a determination.
Yeah.
So, when we declared MTN, they went to court. But the mandate is with the NCA, and the law provides what metrics we must assess to reach that conclusion. And the process we have to go through, we have to gazette it, and then, so that is a mandate given to us. The law also provides for the minister to issue policy directives. So whether or not there's a policy, we still have a job to do. But, the general construct of governance in Ghana, the ministers are always giving policy mandates so that they can also give direction based on what government wants to do.
So would you say that your declaration of MTN as an SMP has worked? Because it was obviously supposed to be a corrective measure.
Yeah.
But you can say that from the time you declared them till now, they've probably gotten stronger.
Yeah, they've gotten stronger. Also because the metrics have worked to the extent that, but for them, it would have been a total collapse of competition in the market. It's like what happened. How I like to explain SMP is that somebody keeps going to the gym and is building muscles when the others were not doing the same, and now you see that they have the capacity. If they want to bully these guys, they can do it. It doesn't mean they are doing it. So you are putting in measures to allow the others to thrive without collapsing, because this guy has the capacity, if they so choose, to. So some of the metrics that we put in place, like national roaming, because they have the widest coverage, and so that gives them an advantage in some places. Then they are the only people that you can go to. But national roaming then allows the others to also operate in that market, even though they don't have a network. We had some price regulations that we put in place so that MTN cannot be the lowest in the market. This allows the others to at least have something with which they can compete. So those are metrics that we put in place. Now it's also up to the others to also make relevant investments so that they can also compete and take advantage of some of the remedies. We also put in place a symmetric interconnection so that when a call originates from a network to the SMP network, they get 30% discount, which are savings that are supposed to help them. Either you transfer it to the customer and enhance your value proposition, or depending on your peculiar situation, it reduces your operational costs. So
some argue that the focus of the SMP declaration was more on price. At least that's the way it was covered, around the minimum price. So this idea about even national roaming wasn't that clear.
But they were all part.
They were part.
Yeah, they were all part.
So was it our fault in the media for not highlighting that?
I think we also didn't do much engagement at the time to explain all the remedies, but there were quite a number of remedies that maybe the price is what people felt. So that's why it became topical, but all the others are...
In America, when they use the word competition, they also talk about antitrust, and sometimes that means breaking up companies by directives around whether they go to the stock exchange or whether a company is just too big. Does your mandate contemplate that?
So we have accounting separation for if the business has aspects that are distinct. So you will find that Bank of Ghana has compelled them to separate the fintech businesses from even though they are closely related, they are supposed to be deal with each other at arm's length so that you don't cross-subsidize. So those are things that we haven't had reason, okay, because you see that the evolution of the businesses has been very organic. We started with basic telephony, and then data came on, and then we are just increasing the speeds of the data with the technology evolutions, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. So, but a company like Biobab is an MTN company providing wholesale infrastructure, but that company is now separate. We didn't even have to compel them, but they themselves could read the room and see that where the business was leading, they needed to separate their wholesale operations from, the primary consumer business.
You issued a quality of service directive to the players in the telco sector last month.
Yeah.
And what was the objective of that?
Okay, so the objective was to let them be aware that we were tightening the metrics. Regulation has been progressive, and everything we do has a certain objective. So some years ago, we lacked coverage, and the regulatory objective was to drive them to expand coverage. So, for example, we give a condition that if you wanted to have an international gateway to bring in traffic yourself, then you have to be present in all of the 10 regions and have a minimum subscriber base of about 1% of the national population. That is how telephony got to WA, because at that time nobody had gone there. But because we had set a certain requirement for them to be able to get a certain regulatory opportunity, then it drove them there. We've been trying to grow access, so we have to now balance what the metrics are. But now we have about 99% coverage when it comes to 2G, 3G, even 4G. And the shift now is from access to the quality of the experience. So in the past, the requirement was that about 3% of the millions of minutes of calls can drop. And it's okay by the regulatory requirement. We have reduced it to 1%. Meaning that it's more stringent now. Now you have to provision your network or dimension it to make sure that not more than 1% of the calls will drop.
Okay.
Call success
And if that
rate,
happens, what's the punishment?
So there are fines. You see, our first action is not to fine.
Okay.
Our first action is to bring it to your attention and give you time to remedy. So if we go back to the location, and after some decision by the Electronic Communications Tribunal, we now, for sanctioning purposes, we test in one location for 3 days. We would take the same measurements over, so that if you fail, then it means that it's not just a snapshot; it's a consistent issue in that locality. And there are fines that are in the license that we are able to issue after having gone through. But our first inclination, if we find them, the money comes to us. It doesn't help the consumer. So we'll first give you a notice to cure, remedy the situation. But if you fail again in the same location, then we will issue a fine.
And when you fine, what do you do with the money?
It is part of public funds.
Because the question has been, if I suffer from a low network or poor network, and you punish the perpetrator, you should compensate me for my loss. You don't put it in your account and use it to pay yourself a salary at the end of the month.
Okay, so it depends on, for example, if there's a service outage, we will ask them to compensate them, not financially, by say, give everybody 3 days worth of band or extend the validity period. I mean, there are things that we do which is compensation to the consumer. Remember, this is a mobile network. The people who suffer are spread all over. It is not an easy thing, except when we ask them to give back, and they will give you either credits and sometimes those things don't hit them. So if it's intended to be punitive, so punitive, and then also the naming and shaming, because especially for those who are publicly listed, anything that is negative that is announced doesn't, because it hits the bottom line. Yeah, but our first inclination is to incentivize them to fix the problem. There are some problems that cannot be fixed in a short time, because it requires certain investments to be in place. They may have to plant a site, and those ones we may give you a reasonable period of time to do it. And if that has not been done,
is that why you separated the thresholds for the different regions?
No, we didn't. We
didn't do that.
No, we didn't discriminate.
Okay.
But in the past, the requirement was that they needed to cover each district capital.
Okay.
But now we have extended it to the constituent towns. So you don't just have to cover the capital. Now, when we go beyond it, because in the past you haven't failed if you have service in the capital, but we go, let's say, some 10 kilometers and you don't have service, it wasn't a failure. But now that has become a requirement. Okay. That you have to cover those constituent towns.
But you are aware that network complaints are still persistent?
Yes.
Irrespective of your newly announced thresholds?
So you see, so we've made the announcement. Now they have to respond. Like I told you, the way to improve the service is to make investments. So what I mean by that is that they have to acquire sites, sometimes through third parties, through towercos, and then they have to, procure equipment. One of the challenges we've seen is on the periphery. What's the right word?
Periphery.
Periphery. Thank you. The periphery of the cities. At the time they were planning, some of the areas were not built up.
Yeah.
Okay, because the networks are designed around population centers. So people have now built up in the area, and then the service is bad. But then they have to now plant a site there because the people may be at the edge of the cell. Now they have to plant a site there to improve the coverage. One of the challenges we are seeing is that in some communities, people resist. So we are getting, requests from the MNOs to assist with the district assemblies in site acquisition, because somebody thinks that their neighbor has collected money to come and put a site there, and people fear that, well, it could fall down, it could also give them cancer, something that has not been proven. All of us who are promoting this, we also live in the communities. In the NCA estates, we have a tower there, because we know that is the only way we cannot improve the service
without
if we
using
don't have the
infrastructure.
sites.
Interesting.
There. And we will actually plead, I will use this opportunity to encourage the communities to support it. You can't resist the siting of a mast in your community and expect the mobile service to be good.
Beyond the network complaints, there's a clamor for reduced tariffs. People feel like they should be able to pay less for their bundles.
So you see, I was telling you about investment. We have to have a balance, okay? Because to get more investment to improve the service, there must also be return on the investment. We can't keep, driving prices down beyond a certain point. We would hurt ourselves, because then the investments will slow down, and then the service would eventually get bad. So you will get a low quality service at a low price. But what we want to maintain, and our job is a balancing act, is to keep the service quality high by encouraging the investments that are necessary, whilst keeping the price at a level that is fair, that is reasonable. So that is the balancing act that we are doing. We cannot make a promise that the prices would continue to go down. And people must note that, your light goes off, but your network is on. Because besides just putting up the radios, we have to ensure there is reliable power. And in every site, you will find that there are three levels of power backups. So there's the grid power, there is a standby generator, there's a battery bank. Okay, so it's a lot of investment that goes into maintaining the service in a community. And we have to have that balancing act in ensuring that we also have the consumer as a key stakeholder. Yeah, we check that the price is fair. Where we think that it is not fair, we will raise the issue.
This is the point of view. Tonight we're speaking to the DG of the National Communication Authority, the main regulator working on the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and what? Innovation. And we're looking at some issues regarding the telcos. Internet, prices are high according to users. Service quality is poor. Most companies now, their biggest headache is internet, including this one. Do you measure the internet quality the same way you measure the other ones?
Yeah, so especially for the mobile, the tests cover both the voice, SMS, and internet. So we do that also. When it comes to companies, there's also the internet service providers who focus on the enterprise market. One of the things that we are hoping to stimulate growth in is fixed internet. You see, mobile ideally is not for certain users. It's supposed to be, as it's called, exactly
on the go.
Then so it's another market. When you get into the building, you move from the mobile and then you get into Wi-Fi, which is connected to most likely a fiber connection. But here, the fiber penetration is very low. The fiber to the home, I mean. We've given out some licenses recently. It's one of the areas we want to stimulate growth, so that, especially for businesses, because that's once the connection is there, you have a pipe and you are guaranteed a certain speed of data. So those are the services and we see that the growth very slow, and it's slow also because it requires digging up. And we have a key challenge with fiber cuts. Okay, construction projects, people are cutting fiber everywhere, and especially even the mobile service. All the sites are linked. Most of them are linked by fiber, and with microwave as a backup. And whenever the fiber is cut, especially the backbone fiber, so we have it in rings, so that if it's cut here, we can reroute the traffic. But sometimes you can suffer 3 cuts, which kind of brings the service.
So in this sense, you understand your service providers, that they are facing big challenges.
Exactly.
Okay.
They are even migrating. It's better to bury the fiber, but now they are beginning to lay the fiber overhead.
Because of the road construction and the problems. I see.
Exactly.
So this one, you are fighting for your people.
Yes. So, and we actually, so in the review of our law, the minister is leading a review of about 15 legislations in the sector, and we are proposing stiffer, punishment
for fiber cuts.
For fiber cuts.
Which is why you are not going to sanction any internet service provider for poor quality yet.
No, not necessarily, especially for the MNOs. For the mobile internet, they have metrics that they have to meet, and it's part of the things that if they don't improve, it's a shared. The demand for data, whenever it improves, I see the utilization reports. So they get additional spectrum, they optimize, they are doing massive MIMO, all to improve. But as it improves, people are using it more. Bernard, that when your quality is not too good and it's buffering, you may stop watching the thing that you are watching. When it's smooth, you watch more. So we are seeing that the consumption is so the utilization on the sites are quite high, especially in the cities. And so we are not going to issue sanctions out of a vacuum. It's only when it is clear that the entity is not doing what they should do. But when you can see that, we have improved in this area by this percentage, and then we have seen that the demand has also grown and then we have to now work with them. Like I said, the objective is the improvement, not the sanctioning. But then the sanctions will certainly follow if they don't do what they have to do.
Do we have 5G working in Ghana?
As of now, not commercially available.
So what is Next Gen Infraco doing?
Yeah, so they have tested some sites, but it's limited in coverage. We released a statement last week about the sites that they have so far lighted about 49 sites, which in the scope of things is wouldn't give you a mobile service, and even for fixed wireless it will be in very limited locations. But I know they are working at they are working at it. And that is the reason why we've also taken the decision in the public interest to make an amendment to the exclusivity clause in their license.
So let me understand this. They've been working for how long?
Their license was in 2024.
So less than 2 years?
So less than 2 years, yeah.
And they haven't fully rolled out?
Yes.
So on what basis are you opening it up?
We think that when there is competition, it drives, it drives activity when there's somebody on your heels. And so we are confident that in the public interest, if we introduce competition into that space, it would accelerate, the rate of deployment. Even, the incumbent will step up his game, knowing that there's even just the mere announcement of an intention to amend. You see that they're stepping up.
Deduce that there is interest from other companies in playing in the 5G sector, for which reason you send the notice of amendment of the...
Yeah, but I'm saying that the driver is a regulatory assessment that, this market, the original intent is that you have one operator, then, they can focus all the investment and get it done for everybody. Okay. After some assessment, we think that stimulating the market with competition is the way to rather get the service to everybody quicker.
Are you copying from any relevant examples? How does it work? Give me examples in countries how they do it. 5G.
So in fact, the only countries that have attempted this wholesale single operator model have all gone back on it. Okay. So Rwanda did it for 4G. They reverted to a competitive environment. Malaysia also did it with 5G, and even for them there was a rollout. But still, they noticed that to improve the service delivery, they opened it up for competition. So in fact, international best practice is to allow competition in the space.
So we are in March.
Yes.
What timetable are you working with? By when should we expect to see new players within the sector?
Okay, so the law says if you want to amend the license, you have to give them Section 14 of Act 775. You have to give a notice of at least 90 days.
Okay.
So the earliest we can begin to consider any other interest is after 90 days.
So that'll be after May?
Yes.
Because this was announced end of February.
It was announced 2nd March.
2nd March.
I mean, we issued a notice 2nd March, announced a few days.
So this is June? 90 days,
so
right? The whole of March, 30 days, the whole of April, the whole of May. So early June.
Yeah.
I see. And what's your vision as NCA for 5G?
To have a widespread deployment across the country. Well, the minister has announced, a coverage target of 70%, which is visionary. But ultimately, what we will put in the licenses is coverage nationwide. Typically, we begin with, the districts. We require that by a certain period of time, in the NGIC license as we have it, by the 3rd year, they have to be in every district. And then we'll expect that by the 5th year, the constituent communities will also be covered. And for 5G, there are use cases also for industry, so that we expect that there will be deployments for specific use cases in the mining sector, in the agri sector, because it will enable, because of the very low latency, services that today are not possible. 5G will make them possible because of the speeds that, and the high capacity that will be delivered.
So the ministry, and in particular the minister, was concerned about the pricing of one particular player in the television sector, DSTV, and the minister issued directives and worked with them to reduce their prices. Some people think that that's a misguided fight. The real fight is if the cost of data is cheaper and it's more available and accessible, people have choice. So, for example, people watch EPL football, Amazon, right? A lot of the movies that DSTV shows, you can get it on your Netflix. So the real question about value, if the internet is available and cheaper, the options for people consuming content will be cheaper. And indeed, television will become passé. So strategically, should not be your focus. But yet, we haven't seen you argue with any internet service provider that your internet is too expensive.
Like I said, as for the internet, the investments that we require to continue to give you the speeds and the quality that you deserve, we will have to, like I said, play the balancing act, okay, between the return on investment and affordability to the consumer. It's a continuous balancing act, like I mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the reason for allowing competition in the market is also competition does well in determining price efficiency.
Okay.
Because the markets will then, driving pricing with policy is not optimum. Yeah. So, stimulating the market with competitive offerings is, in fact, the most efficient way to determine that the price is the right price or that it is not. But on the DSTV matter, just also take note that it is not just the means of access, the content itself, there's a cost to it. Okay, you may be talking about pirated content that people may be streaming, and even that also there are efforts for people to enforce their rights.
Okay.
People pay for these things, okay, and that is how those things get value. Okay, these players are paid a lot of money because people pay for TV rights. Okay, and those who pay for TV rights must also recoup the investments that they make. So even if it's over the internet, the rights holder will still require payment for the deployment of the content.
I see.
So when it comes to broadcasting, content is king, and it's not only and you see that all these platforms are deploying reception on over the internet and also directly over the air.
Why do we need to re-register our SIMs?
Okay, so we will roll out a bit more detail very soon, but just at a very high level. This will be, let's say, the third official registration process. The first one that was done, that ended in 2011. The challenge with this was that there was no verification at all of the IDs. What we did was a manual verification of some limited. It came up along the way, and then the second registration was to cure that by ensuring everybody used their national ID card, and there was supposed to be validation, but verification of the IDs. Now we did one part of it, as in to verify that the ID pin and the name and the date of birth aligned. But we also found, but the second part didn't happen. It wasn't whether it was the NCA, by the time the policymaker and the NIA.
They couldn't communicate.
Exactly. We couldn't get alignment, okay, to do the second phase, which was also the validation of the biometric. So we've had cases where, and I could show you later in some of our slides, that you have the key things that we check in phase one align, but the photo is different. Okay, so the same name but a different person. So we've seen fake IDs being used to register, and what we want to do now is to cure all this outstanding one, to have a single source of truth, so that we also verify not only that the ID details are correct, but that the person who has brought the ID for registration is indeed the person.
So this SIM registration, who will bear the cost?
That is also something that we are going through some stakeholder engagement, but certainly we don't intend for a cost to be borne by the consumer. I'm saying this is the objective.
Okay.
As we work out the details, it will become clearer, and then we will communicate. But the objective is not for the consumer. But we intend to also bring in a lot more convenience with this. We did a little study with the existing database, and what we did with the NIA revealed that about we have about 21% of the people whose registrations are defective when we try to validate against the biometric register.
Ghana has a population of about 32 million. Yeah. You have over 760 FM authorizations. Even Nigeria, with close to 200, they don't have up to 400 radio stations. Why do you keep giving radio authorization?
Yeah, because we are constrained by the bodies of law that govern this. The Constitution actually says that there should be no requirements for a license for any form of mass media. So it was this classic Rekubrobe case, the Radio Eye case, that led to the Supreme Court giving a judgment that we need, for the frequency authorization needs to be authorized, and which also fed into the creation of the NCA in 1996 by being given the mandate to regulate that also. So our regulation is actually constrained by the giving of frequencies. And the only reason we would decline a frequency application legally is that there is a constraint of frequency in a particular location. So as much as we would like to improve the viability of the businesses by, controlling the numbers, we are also constrained by the, the constitutional provisions, unless those are amended. That gives us the mandate now to be able to say that, okay, we have done an economic analysis and we think that we shouldn't add any authorization in this location. If we did that today and somebody took us to court.
But you keep reducing the extent of coverage of the FM stations. So you are constraining us in
we haven't done that since the last time.
And yet you are increasing our numbers. So you basically want us to collapse.
No, that's
from
not
an economic
objective.
point of view. If I can only be heard at Kaswa, all right, and there are about 50 of us in Accra, nobody will advertise with me. So strategically, your policy, unlike the telcos, there are only 4. You have over 700 radio stations. Clearly, you don't want the media business to survive.
It's been a very important sector of the communications ecosystem. And you will find that when we did a pilot for DAB, one of the things that we're the digital audio broadcasting, one of the things we're testing is also to use that to expand coverage. Because what we did with the pilot was to have the same stations be heard both in Accra and Kumasi. So on the other hand, whilst we develop new introduction of new broadcasting technologies, we will attempt to mitigate some of the constraints that we have found on the traditional FM radio.
What about the DTT platform for TV? We are always discussing what to do with it. As we speak, is it sustainable?
The current arrangement is not sustainable because all the stations that are on it don't pay any fees.
Even this is digital terrestrial television. The free-to-air ones.
The free-to-air. We have 42 sites across the country.
They are not paying anything for it.
They are not. So the government is bearing that cost.
Okay.
And it is not fair to the government that we are subsidizing private businesses when not everybody has that. Because those who are broadcasting over satellite are having to pay, and those on terrestrial are not paying. I think the minister has already, that's not something for us. The platform is owned by the government. So the minister has taken the first step of convening a stakeholder meeting on this so that we will agree on the modalities for them to begin to pay fees. Hopefully that will also separate those who are speculators from those who are there to do real business.
To end, what's your commitment to Ghanaians in regulating this sector? 30 years in the industry.
Yeah, so for the next 30 years, we are committing to expanding access. Our theme actually is about building an inclusive digital future, and we don't want anybody to be left behind based on gender, religion, or physical abilities. That everybody should be able to have access to reliable, affordable, and communication services, which today have become a part of our everyday life. We depend on it for commerce, for education, for agriculture, for everything, and it's important that everybody gets access to it.
Thank you, Edmund Yirenkyi Fianko from the NCA. Congrats on your appointment. We wish you well.
And if you would like, I would just want to thank His Excellency the President. He was the first board chairman of the NCA.
Oh.
Yeah, so this anniversary, we are hoping that he will join us at the climax.
Which means when he was board chairman, you were working there?
No, I was in school. That was 1998.
Oh, okay, when he was minister, okay.
Yeah, when he was minister.
I see.
Yeah, so...
But he knows the place well.
Yes, he does.
Wonderful. Thank you for talking to us. So when we come back, we'll be looking at the situation in the Middle East and its impact on fuel prices in country.